Hello, strangers and friends. My name is Grace, and this is Sometimes I Make Things, a podcast vlog series about all the creative things I get up to, typically knitting, but we do all sorts over here. And this is episode number 18, Reorganizing My Stash. This lovely shelf here is not the extent of my stash, but it is the stash that I have on display in my room and typically represents the projects that I'm planning to do next. Now, at the beginning of a new year, it's 2024, I'm kind of reconsidering what I want to work on and reprioritizing my queue, so I thought it would be an appropriate time to reorganize and refresh my inspiration. I started organizing my stash like this last year, and I found that it was really good for encouraging me to look forward to the projects that I already had planned. I'm very much someone where if something is out of sight, it is out of mind. I fully forget that I have it, and I just don't consider it. So visibly displaying it, and this is adjacent to my bed, so it's something that I can look at and see very often, is really helpful for me to organize my ideas and what I want to do next. I also found that after displaying my yarn this way, my spending habits for impulsive yarn buying did start to trend downwards. I still will buy yarn every now and again, but as someone who's really trying to work for my stash, and I feel like I'm a little naturally large stash adverse. I do have a large stash of yarn, but I've kind of reached my natural, I don't want to get bigger than this point. So I think that's been really helpful with this, is that I'm someone, I've spent money on it, I really want to use it. So that's kind of for organizational purposes, this works really well for me. So what I'm going to do is first kind of explain what we have going on here, and then I'm going to take everything off the shelf and put it onto my bed, and my yarn that I have in my non-visible stash where I have it stored away so it's a little more easy to keep organized and protected from damage, etc. I'm going to pull all of that out of storage, lay it out on my bed, and kind of pick and pull from that and see what I want to have on here and just refresh, update, etc. Okay, we're going to start with the bottom shelf here. Now, this shelf is mostly sweaters that I'm interested in making. This yarn right here is some Naro Akari that I got in celebration after passing a very scary test at the beginning of last year, and I'm planning on making a shoulder. I'm not sure what happened there. Saddle shoulder sweater with it, and just let the yarn itself kind of take center stage. And this yarn right here is the yarn that I'm using to make my honeycomb errand, which is a current whip that I have in progress. And then this yarn right here was going to be used to make a pelto collar, which I'm still planning on making it. This is a MCN, and then this is a mohair silk, and I got both of them on sale for a really good price. So I'm very excited about that project, partially because of the thriftiness of it. So yes, these guys are still pretty high on the roster, obviously currently in use. I'm thinking that I'm not going to want to have this one on display anymore because I'm currently using it. So it makes more sense to just have it in a place where I can grab and go. I know I'm using it, so I can use this space for inspirational placement as opposed to functional. I also have some little trinkets here. This is a needle felted penguin that I made in 2020, and this is a needle felted Milo, my cat. I always meant to make a trill, but a fluffy cat is kind of more intimidating to make needle felted than a short-haired cat. So I love him. I need to make his brother at some point. I also have some artwork here that I picked up. This is by Jane McMillan. I got this at a fiber festival. There's a few of these, they're cards, that I have on my yarn shelf. I like the idea of getting them framed or somehow displaying them on my wall, but for now they're kind of tucked in various spots. I have a rock that I painted with my Instagram handle, and I guess it's my YouTube handle now too, Zumo Crafty. I've got some driftwood here, and then I also have my storage SSD card, which I use for this YouTube channel. So all of my content is stored in this box here. It's convenient, it's thematically appropriate. So that's shelf number 1. Okay, so here we are with shelf number 2, the middle shelf. This shelf is a mess. That's all I can say. This kind of became a bit of a dumping ground for just new skein, put it here, Same story kind of for the upper shelf, but this one has suffered. Um, we have a guest appearance here of a new cross stitch project that I'm working on. This one is going to be a gift, so it's still a surprise, but I will be sharing updates on this. Feel free to put your guesses below what you think it is, but I gotta get to work on this one. So we'll move that out of the way for now. I forgot this was back here. How do I explain myself? This is a whole bunch of random sock yarn from sock projects I have previously made, and I wanted to make a pair of ugly bed socks. So I wanted to hold like 2 or 3 strands of whatever sock yarn here to make just like a really good all wool pair of bed socks, because I've been having cold feet at night and wearing my hand knit wool socks has been the perfect solution. So I wanted to make kind of a worsted weight pair and just make use of these random sock yarns that aren't, they're like Lion brand, discount, ones that I got cheap. So it doesn't really matter if they're pretty because I just wanted them to be bed socks. They just need to be functional. And yeah, go from there. This is some Lang. And I kind of like the idea of intentionally just going into it being like, these will be ugly. So then I don't feel bad if the colors don't mesh right. Or maybe the colors will mesh really interestingly and it'll be cool. But we're having an ugly mindset so that we don't feel bad if it turns out bad. So yeah, I was trying to do some organizing on that, and then that ended up getting dumped on this shelf. So love that. This is also yarn for a current whip, the hat that I'm working on. So similarly, it doesn't need to be on this shelf. This back here, it's like buried alive. I can't even get it out without causing a mess. But that was the first skein that I ever spun myself. So might leave it up on the shelf, but also ultimately I like the idea of getting a shadow box and displaying it in the shadow box because I think it'd be a cool way to show just, my first ever skein off in an interesting way and make it an art piece instead of part of my stash per se. This black yarn here is for a summer top that I want to make. I had started a top, messed it up, didn't go back to it. This is also for a summer top, and so is this yellow yarn here. This is a hibernating whip, so also probably doesn't need to be on here, but because it's a hibernating whip, maybe I needed to stay on here so that I will be reminded to work on it. So yeah, just kind of a mess of summer projects. This I want to be a hat, this I want to be a pair of socks. These are very high on my make list for this year, so they're probably going to be staying on the shelf for inspo. Oh dear. And then I also have a bunch of mini skeins on here, which I also have pretty high on my make list, that I want to get those guys caked up. Oh man, this is an avalanche waiting to happen. Yeah, so kind of a weird mix here of yarns. I do want to make more summer tops. I'm just not someone who's like super into summer knitting. I never have the timing right for getting things done at a reasonable time, so yeah, I guess late winter is a good time to start making summer knits, but you don't want to be knitting summer knits late winter. You want to knit cozy things. So TBD on this front. Maybe what I'll try to do is pick one summer yarn and put that front and center and just try to make that, as opposed to trying to push myself to make like 4 summer tops, which is not going to happen. So yeah, this one, she needs a lot of work over here. This is a problem. Oh, also quick addition, for decor on the shelf, I have this McDonald's children's book called Lester's Dreadful Sweaters about an ingrateful child whose aunt makes them a bunch of wonderfully terrible sweaters, and having to deal with that. So that was just a fun little yarn themed book. And more of the cards are buried back there, but I'm not going to try to release them, but just know that there are things hidden. Never mind. Okay, here we are with the third and final shelf, as well as the top of the shelf, which also needs some help. This doesn't really have a set theme. This here is yarn for another sweater that I want to make the bay pull over. This was a more cheap yarn. It's an acrylic blend, and I really wanted just like a nice, simple pullover, and I don't need to be anxious about anything happening to it because the cost of the yarn is like $35 and like 45 of my personal hours. So I think this one might still stay up, but it also might be relegated to the back because there's just some other sweaters that I'm more excited about making. So this one might be put more on the back burner, but TBD. These yarns here, I won these 3 in a giveaway by Elise Made, and then I bought this one to go with it. I'm not sure what's going on with these guys. This might be socks, that's what I was originally thinking. Then these 3 might be a shawl together, or a cowl. I'm not sure, but I am planning on using up these yarns. This one, she might be put into hibernation. I think it's lovely. I definitely want to use it, but I have some other sock projects pressing, so TBD on that one. This is also a yarn for socks that I am excited about. I think this would be a fun summer pair of socks. It's very tropical, fun, exciting. These 2 guys here are for a pair of fingerless mittens. I've wanted to make these guys for over a year, and we're having a really weird winter this year, if you haven't noticed. It's currently February, and we've been having like 10-degree days, or it's 5 degrees. It's very rarely been below freezing, even overnight. So a pair of fingerless gloves feel very fitting for this time of year. We'll see obviously what March and April bring, as well as the rest of February, but I'm really feeling like fingerless mittens are lacking in my wardrobe, so I think these guys are moving up in the roster because they will be functional. What else do we have here? Oh, this is probably the yarn I'm going to use for my next spinning project. Not going to take it out because I'm afraid of it overflowing. But that's a Malabrigo yarn. It's 100% merino. The first yarn that I spun that I showed earlier was a Corriedale, so it'll be a different blend for me. Beautiful, very colorful. So that one I'm not sure if I'll stay on the shelf just because it's bulky, takes up space, but it is something that I'm planning on working with this year, for sure. Top shelf, what do we have going on? A couple stuffed toys. We have some mementos from the museum. These are yarn scraps from, I think, 2019, or no, these were 2020 yarn scraps. These were 2021 yarn scraps. I've got some clay figurines here. I have some larger or nicer yarn scraps up here that I might want to incorporate. Thematically a lot going on up there. I definitely want to clear that off and just make it a little more organized. Not sure what's going on up there yet, but yeah, just the chaos of life. What's new? Now that I've talked you through each section, I'm going to take everything off, put it on the bed, and see about reorganizing it. Okay, here we are. This is everything that was on the shelf now laid out on my bed, and these 2 cardboard boxes here are the secret stash. So my plan is I'm going to open these up, maybe I'll give you a little peek inside, and we're going to see who deserves to be swapped in. Let's get into it. We're entering handheld mode for this section. So both of these cardboard boxes are from Knit Picks orders, and I think that's telling. This is a book I actually got for Christmas, and it just made sense to store it with my Knit Picks order for now, but I'm excited about this. It's just a collection of colorwork charts, and you can make your own patterns from that. So very excited about that. And then this was a thrifted book that I got about various types of games, which has been fun as well. Non-knitting content covered. Okay, I won this Skein of Yarn Instagram giveaway. It is Christmas socks. Definitely want to be working on these. I keep trying to make them as Christmas socks and then running out of time in the holidays. Funny how that works. So I might set these aside as maybe like November sock project into December. Give myself enough time to work on them and just really get into the Christmas spirit for 2024. So these definitely do want to be made ASAP, but they're not going to be made anytime soon this year. So considerations. This yarn right here is going to be for another cabled sweater. As I mentioned, I'm currently making a cabled sweater, so this one is going to have to wait until I finish the first one, but I'm very excited about this. It's also very nicely packaged, and I want to keep it in the plastic until I'm ready to work with it. So realistically, this one doesn't need to be out on display. Here, this gray yarn, the plan is to pair it up with the Noro yarn that I showed earlier just to make it more consistent. So that one is going to stay with the Noro yarn. And then this other yarn here is for a mushroom sweater that I want to make a colorwork sweater, which I probably also wouldn't start until later in the year. So realistically, everything that's in this box is probably going to stay in this box and just keep it all organized. It's all from one order, so I know that everything that's in here. So I think that'll be the plan for this box. We're actually going to hang tight with this one, though maybe I will consider taking out the gray so it can be with the Noro yarn. Okay, and here we are with box number 2. This is leftovers from the Slothier sweater that I made. I would like to make this into a big rib sweater by Jessie May. I think I have enough, but this one has definitely been on my mind. This is stuff for a macrame project, so not knitting. I might consider storing it somewhere else just so I free up a little room in my knitting storage space. Not sure when I'm going to get to this. It might be a summer project. Stay put. Okay, bless this mess. Some of these have projects in mind, a lot of them do not. This, I want to make a hat out of these two together, so that makes sense that those are there. This yellow skein has been on my mind, so I might pull this one out because I think there's a cowl pattern that this would be a nice accent color for, but it also might be too variegated for what I want to do, so These guys have also been on my mind. I was not sure what to make with them. They're so beautifully vibrant, but I was kind of thinking about making a hot water bottle cover because I don't really wear this kind of neon purple. It's not a color that really speaks to me to put on my body, but the idea of my beloved hot water bottle having a, pretty slay makeover, as well as natural fibers will be really good for a hot water bottle cover. So they really pop on camera, gorgeous. So maybe these guys will get a starring spot. Now, a lot of these here are sock yarn scraps, kind of waiting to become something. This is a sock project I would like to make at some point, leftovers from other projects here. It's kind of a bit of a mishmash. So I think realistically, a lot of this will stay the same. Like I know I want to make rainbow socks out of this. These two here, I think, deserve to be out of the box. I love these skeins so much. They're from the Loving Path. Originally wanted to make something with them together, but I've been humming and hawing about whether or not to separate them, but they're so beautiful. So I think these guys are definitely going to come out because they deserve to be shown to the world. But otherwise, I think a lot of the stuff that's in here is probably going to stay put. I think I might do some holding together, mixing and matching to see if there's anything that really speaks to me. But I think these guys are staying more in the deeper stash because they are more in the line of scraps and randomly acquired things. Okay, I will not pretend. Seeing this all laid out kind of gave me a moment of panic because I'm like, oh, how am I going to organize this? I am now freaked out, but we're making some simple executive choices. So I have put all of the pure silk from Knitting for Olive with the project that it is intended for. It doesn't take up too much space, and that's just all going to stay together in the same project bag, so that is accounted for. One of the garment quantities of summer yarn here I'm gonna put with my Knit Picks order. I know I want to use that yarn, but I think it's just not on the roster to happen this year, so that might be a 2025 project. So we are putting it into storage. So my mushroom sweater quantity, that summer quantity, and my beautiful, beautiful beloved baby shall all stay put in here. And there's a little bit more space, so I might see about squeezing in some smaller skeins here. But there we go. That's something sorted. Okay, I decided it's going to be the Christmas socks. I put, there's a dark green skein that I want to include with that. I've hidden it underneath here, and I'm going to close up this box, and I'm going to put a sticky note on it with the yarn that I have in here, so that in the future I don't need to open it up. I'll just know exactly what I have in here. Okay, and now I have taken the yarn of my active whips and I've hung them up on my closet so they are both easily accessible and in sight for when I want to work on them. I'm in the midst of cleaning the shelves and I totally forgot about the door. So there's kind of a number of random fabrics down here and my needle felting supplies. So I'm thinking I'm also going to reorganize this. And maybe I'll put the yarn projects in here that I have in mind, but they're not as pressing as the ones here. We'll see. But bonus space unlocked. I've reached the point in reorganizing where I started to procrastinate. So let's do a fit check. This is the Shirgi sweater by Jessie May. I made it in Knit Picks palette and Knit Picks Aloft. The colorways were Hyacinth and Pennyroyal. I like the way it sits right at the, she's a long crop, I suppose. Covers the pants line. Use this mirror situation to my advantage. Not well. Yeah. Pants from Old Navy. It's Sunday. I need to get to work because we are losing light. As you can see, it is now dark outside, but I do have something to show for it, so let's do the new tour. Okay, the theme of the reorganization is decluttered, so I wanted to keep it still lots of things for me to do, but narrowing the focus a little bit. So this is kind of my accessories area. These are the mitts that I mentioned before that I want to do. These are socks that I'm very likely to want to make soon. These are just beautiful and they've been in a box for a while and I want to see them. So they're out. And then these three here I think are going to be paired together in making a cowl, the flyaway cowl, by the same designer as the underwing mittens. So we've got thematic over here. Also up top stuffed animals because obviously. Okay, we're going to do these as a twofer. This here is a yarn bowl that I got for Christmas, 2 Christmases past, and I've been sad that it hasn't been on better display, so it has been centered. Place of honor. It deserves it. In it, it has the mini skeins of a gradient that I got also for Christmas a few years ago, and I want to make into a shawl this year, so there we go, place of honor. Milo, the yarn cat, the felt cat, is here. My skein ended up back there. Just felt like tragic to put it away, so stays in place of honor. And then over here, future hat project and future sock project. All of these I'm hyped about. Down here, Pelto collar yarn, still in the same spot with the SD card. It just felt appropriate. They work there. I've got my Noro yarn and the palette yarn, which I'm planning on hold double with it, so it makes sense that they are together. And then this yarn here is actually from leftovers from a hat, and I'm planning on frogging the hat because I made it in 2020 and I messed up some of the stitches, so there's some weirdness going on and I've never actually worn the hat. So that one's there to remind me to frog the hat. No idea what I'll make from it once it is frogged, but it thematically matched everything, and we have our friend the penguin here as well as my Zumo Crafty rock. So yeah, a little more quiet down here, a little more organized, thoughtful. I think it works. Alrighty, and down here I have my roving, my spindle, and that sweater project from earlier that I mentioned, and down below the yarn for the big rib sweater that I want to make. And the jar used to be on top of the unit. I took everything out of it and I repackaged these mini yarns. They're called cotton, that I got from the thrift store this year for like $3 with a black yarn I got because I want to make a kind of mid-size amigurumi project. It will be a big amigurumi project for me, but those are the yarns for that. So I figured having them accessible but also out of the way was a nice combo. And then these two are my yarn scraps from previous years. So I might see about making those into Christmas ornaments. I made my 2023 yarn into a Christmas ornament, and that might be the fate of these guys here, but I figured they could also be nearby but out of sight. So yeah, that is our yarn shelf update. I feel good about it. At first I was thinking like, oh, this seems a little sparse compared to what I had before, but that's kind of the point. I want it to be what I immediately want to work on and keep it clean, organized, and not overwhelming, because I am someone who gets a little overwhelmed by too much clutter. So yeah, there we have it. Now, I don't know about you, but I find I am someone who definitely gets tired out by tidying and reorganizing things. So I am ready to go have a tea and do some knitting today. I've had a lot of knitting themes to my day, but I haven't actually done any knitting today. And it is getting late. I need to get on it. So that's my plan for the evening. I hope that you enjoyed watching this and maybe got some inspiration yourself for having a yarn setup that shows off your immediate projects, the projects that are bringing you the most inspiration, and maybe thinking about setting up your own yarn display like this with just your top of mind projects. I'm really excited about what this year brings, and I'm really hoping to crack into these skeins. It definitely has re-upped my enthusiasm for new cast-ons and such. So I'm feeling really good about this. I'm glad that I did it. I will catch you in the next one. Feel free to subscribe if you want to hang around more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, friends.